collective work.
And this is, remember, the fairness theory, which was the issue, because I was telling you about the theories, and one of them was the sweat of the brow, and that comparing return on intellectual property to physical property, and I said that when you start looking at collective works, whose efforts should you account for? So the theory becomes inadequate to explain intellectual property. Remember this link, because collective works was an example where the theory is not enough.
And what about the novels that when they turn into a movie, they change stuff in it, like in Harry Potter?
Interesting. This is in the contract between the novelist and the producer, that I can change character. Do you agree or not? And the novelist has the right to say yes or no. For example, Sonal Ibrahim, when we signed with him for CERT, he said, I wrote the novel, you're doing the series. You do what you want with it. And in fact, they were what he wrote. The end was 1970. So all after 1970, it was Maryanne now. It was her imagination. You see, but he approved of this, and he needs to put it in writing. Otherwise,
so he's the ultimate right holder of everything.
No, just the novel. Just the novel.
Like if they want to change the plot of the plot of the novel, they have to take the.
I want to tell you something. You bring in a very interesting subject, which is the role. We haven't gone to the director yet, okay? Who is the chef d'orchestre of all this? But you're bringing in something very important: the relationship between the writer and the director. This is something very sensitive in cinema. Why? Because the writer is the one who's writing everything. But then the director is going to transform these texts into images, okay? And he does not necessarily have the same vision as the writer, okay? And this is why this is an issue that is extremely important. Does he have the right to change or not, okay? So this is in the contract between the screenwriter and the producer. Okay, you're giving me, for example, someone wrote a script and he comes to me and he tells me, okay, I give you the rights. He doesn't have the right to be on shoot, the screenwriter, for us. He wrote this thing, normally he doesn't have the right. But some screenwriters, they want to go and see how this is filmed. And sometimes this is causing a lot of problems. Because they tell, لا أنا ما كتبتش كده، لا أنا كتبت كده، لا أنا. He doesn't have the right. Okay? So this is very interesting.
Like online.
They're all filmmakers here على فكرة.
I thought it's a good class.
It's fantastic.
Someone like
هترجعوني الجامعة تاني يلا.
Someone like Hans Zimmer, he makes music for movies. Do they have to buy the rights?
موسيقى تصويرية طبعا.
For him?
Yes. Like Khoury said.
Hans Zimmer. Yeah, they have also to buy.
Yes. So we're coming to this now. موسيقى تصويرية, of course, is a very important right in a film. Very important. Very important when you have recording and you have composition. Two things.
But he works for them.
Works for them,
Yeah, he makes music for.
No, because here people are not employees. Okay? They come as artists. He tells you years ago in the States, these big studios, they used to have screenwriters as employees and directors as employees. Now nobody works like this class. They're all freelancers, and when you have a project, you bring the artist in, because he's working on many projects. And for him, it's not creative enough to work on one project.
But if there is not, no novelist who wrote the series, for instance, like Maryanne here in Egypt, and it was touching the privacy of many people. Do they should ask for something like copyright protection?
Very interesting question. For example, you have the same problem with the artist. Someone wants to do Kalsoum, or someone wants to do Fatah Hamama. Now she's passed away. Normally they have to ask the families, and they have to have permits. And they allow, like Asmahan, Abdel Wahab, it's always an issue. It's always an issue. They can be sued.
There was a case with Omar Chakourian that is, we have to read about it a little later, that there was talk about the residents' privacy being breached through the...
Yes. It's always an issue.
What about sites that allow people to watch movies online for free?
Yes, I'll tell you, this is a big issue, okay? For example, if I go back to our panorama of the European film, most films could be downloaded here. I'm sure that you are all fantastic at this. There are sites that are much faster than others and this and that. So for us, it's even very difficult to make a festival because we tell them we're going to bring in those films, but that you could see in bed, okay? You can be in bed and then you watch the film. So, but come and you're going to see the film in a cinema with good conditions, on a big screen, good sound, you know, the cinema experience. Those sites are not, you're not allowed, of course. Okay, but these sites, they work like this, you see. Even those films, I mean, there are so many sites that have films and they did not buy the rights for. It's not allowed. So there are attempts now to regularize, like YouTube, for example. You can make an agreement, and after I don't know how many people who saw your film, you get a certain percentage. There's very little money yet, but I think in the years to come, things will get better.
Yeah, another thing, here in Egypt, sometimes if you go to buy a newspaper, you find like DVDs that the new movies, they're put in
it's
like...
a way of sponsoring the movies. I'll tell you what, for example, there is another kind of right here, which is the VOD, video on demand. Video on demand. Now they did an experience in England, for example. There is a group called Curzon, and these people, they have theaters, and they decided that the first day they show the film in the theater, they will have a VOD release. And you have the choice. The consumer has the choice. You either go down and see the film in the cinema, or you stay home and you see it on the VOD. Or you want to see it, VOD, and then you want to see it on a big screen, so you go. So you don't get it. VOD is on your computer. Okay? You pay, for example, £2, £3, £10, and you'll be able to see a film. Okay? So the day of the release of the film in the cinemas, you are also can have access to the film on your computer. And it's your choice. It's the consumer's choice. You see, it's not, nobody tells you, no, you have to see it. Because before there were a lot of regulations that you cannot show the film, for example, on video or television before 6 months release in the cinemas. And this is how it works in countries like France or whatever. You cannot just go sell the film on television. People will see it, they will not go to the cinema. It will affect, you know, the number of people going to the cinema. But now people think differently. It's not the same. Yes.
So does this mean with all the technology and the internet, you as a producer are being harmed with like financial issues? Like if there was no internet or technology, you
yes, of course. The internet has changed the whole world. I mean, it's remapping these industries. You know, who's getting what, who's getting paid, who's not getting paid, when, the access, the time, you know. So all this, there are many conferences now. That's why I'm very happy that this is happening here. Many conferences now around these issues because it hasn't been solved. For example, on a very local scale, piracy in Egypt is doing a lot of harm to the producers. Okay? Because the producers, how do they get their money? They get their money when the people go to the cinema and pay tickets and they get money. Okay, if the people have, you know, sometimes they have these guys selling films you can buy the film for £2 or £3 or nothing, you see?
Can I ask
this is harming a lot the producers.
Can I ask you a question here while we're talking about this? This is something that has to do with technologies and people's practices, etc. What would you say? It's slightly off, but I think it's important. With the music industry, for example, they were severely harmed by the technologies. But what you say about the VOD and the way to adapt, because they know that.
You know why? And this is why for the musicians.
Yeah. So my question is the movie industry. How can it adapt? Because I am of the opinion that you will never be able to catch the thieves. It's better to try and adapt. So what you're saying is one way of adapting
is having the VOD the same day.
At the same time, and also your point is very important about the experience. Yani, one of the things in the digital economy is that with the technologies and unifying the use and equalizing all of this, the winner is the one who really offers the experience because this is the value added. You cannot really price what is non-differentiating, and in that sense, the movie with all its beauty and all its effort, it is as far as when you compare it with what is being copied online, it is the same product. In principle, same content, but what will differentiate is the experience of going to the movies and sharing.
It's different because when you are at home and watching it alone and going answering phone calls and this and that, it's not the same thing as going to a movie and there's phone calls are not allowed. You have very good sound because it's expensive to equip a movie. where you have very good sound, you have a big screen, you have a different cinema experience.
And a different potential
And
for
this is why it's
exploitation.
still working. This is why in cinema, in the whole world, it's still, despite the fact that there is internet, that you can download, it is still an experience. You see, because you go to the movie and it's different. Now, of course, there are different concepts where you have the cinema in a mall, so you can do shopping and you can do this and you can do that.
You have the dinner.
You have dinner, you know, there are all the time new ideas, you know, as movie experience. Yes.
There are some movies that
Can you raise your voice?
there are some movies you know will be good, like whenever trailers come out, you pick and choose. Okay, these are the ones I'm going to pirate, and these are the ones I'm going to go watch at the movies. So is that how people decide the budget now? Like the producer can tell from the script that not a lot of people are interested in going to the cinema to watch this. So I'm not.
Now you're touching on another issue here, which is the blockbuster and films that are not blockbusters, but they could be independent films, they could be small budget films, they could be, you see, it's a different issue. Blockbusters, everybody goes to watch those films. The other films have a different path, you know, but I don't think the decision is made at this stage that this I'm going to pirate and this I'm not going to pirate. I don't think so. I don't think so, because some film, I mean, I was coming back from Cannes and there was a young director working with, so I was very excited to tell him about the film. You know, I don't remember which film. I said, yeah, I saw it. When did you see it? I mean, I paid 10,000 euros to go to Cannes and see the film, and you saw the film already. It was pirated.
Doctor, I have a good example for what Dr. Lebda said. I think the 3D experience helped the producers to adapt to the
This is a
situation.
different thing. It's a different thing. The 3D, different equipment, like the IMAX. Have you been to the IMAX? Okay, so the IMAX is different experience. It's a pattern. It's a different. The IMAX is Canadian actually. Yeah. So they came and we did the IMAX as well. So we had to build the building for the IMAX, you know, because the building has to have certain requirements. The screen has to have a certain height, certain width, and they came to install the equipment that came from Canada. The IMAX is a different product, okay? But you're right, you cannot show the C films on IMAX at home, okay? Even though the equipment is being, some people have projectors at home now. They don't have just a screen and they have projectors. But also there's now we talk about also there's the price issue. Okay, there are different prices. And the IMAX has to be expensive. I don't know, the ticket is £60 or something. Yeah, so £70, even more. So we make more money now. Alhamdulillah.
Is product placement usually frowned upon? Or product placement usually frowned upon in the film industry and institutional help? Product placement,
Product replacement?
Product placement.
Placement.
As in companies go and they tell movie, like the producer or the filmmaker, we want to put this, like in James Bond movies, for example. Is that usually frowned upon, and does
you mean as a product placement of that product? Yeah, the company comes and says, مثلا, you will use the iPhone.
Yes.
Yeah, this is very important as a way of sponsoring films as well.
Okay.
You can get a lot of money from that. Cars, مثلا, if there is an accident in a film, and then you can go to Hyundai and tell them she will do the accident with the Hyundai. Can I get $50,000?
Okay.
No. Some people wouldn't do it just for the money, you know. I say no, it doesn't work, it's too cheap. But others, no, it could be very interesting, because now we won't talk about the crisis of filmmaking now, the film production. Some other time we'll talk about that. But now you have to create ways of producing films, okay? Because you don't have money. Things are different. Yeah.
Putting aside like financial interests. Do producers ever, like study how or look into how much the movie? No, like how much the movie they produced is like pirated or something to like track the success of it? Because obviously, if it's a very good movie, people are going to go through so much effort to try to like copy it or make it available. So is it only the financial part that they want their revenues?
No, I don't get it very well. You're saying that the producers would go and see how much.
Yeah, like follow up on piracy to see the success.
What you're saying is extremely important, because we are an industry where there are no statistics. Okay? كل ماشي كده. Yes. No statistics, you know. Maybe we're the only one who started doing a bit of statistics. What kind of you get it with the practice, much more than doing statistical work. يعني مثلا, do you have an audience for independent films? This project, Zawiya project, okay, which is showing independent films. No blockbusters at all. Okay, will the cinema be able to survive, sustain? Is it a model that is sustainable or not? Nobody knows. Okay, you had to try. So I don't think the producers do that kind of studies because normally they're more, busy with the costs and how they're going to get the money from. And but it's very important what you say. Yeah.
Doctor, this is not applied on the fiction movies.
Sorry?
This is not applied on the fiction movies. عشان يعني we can produce a whole movie in a room.
I don't get the beginning.
Fiction.
You're saying that this applies?
Yeah, that's not
What's your
can't be applied. Can't be applied.
What
Fiction movies. يعني the whole of the copyright system.
This is fiction, right? This is only fiction.
No, but it could be applied also. I told you about the documentary film. I told you about the documentary film. The guy who was playing the main role of the teacher. You must get a release form from anybody who shows in the film. مثلا, if I come here and I tell you I'm going to have a few shots here, I don't have the right, unless you all sign that you don't mind that I show this film on television. I don't have the right to do that. You see? This is what's supposed to be. Maybe in many, it doesn't happen all the time, but this is what should happen. So not only in fiction films, documentaries, animation, you need copyrights. Any kind of